How are we?
Good. How you going?
What's going on?
Well, how are you feeling, mate? Has your head stopped spinning and you've come to terms with the role you're taking on, obviously?
Well, no, it is still spinning. It's been, pretty horrendous couple of days from the Melbourne Footy Club's point of view, and my head's still coming to terms with all the things we need to tick off leading into this week's game.
It might be a presumptuous question, but have you got any designs whatsoever in going on with it next year, or at least putting your hat in the ring for that?
No, look, I'm going to be lucky to make it to next week, really. So my tenure's been put to me by the board to help out over the next five games, and I've never had the desire to be a career coach, so I'll just tackle this 5 weeks, hopefully do a good job and help steer the club in this difficult time. And I guess this is when we need all our good people to really stand up and take a leadership role.
What are you hoping to do for the rest of the year, Todd?
Well, we need to, we need to regroup. There's been a lot of distraction. Obviously, the result on the weekend is a black day in our history. We're a really proud club that's been around for a long time, and last week's performance was, terrible. So we need to regroup the group and try and focus on what we need to get better at for this week's game, and respond in a really positive manner.
We know how you played your footy, Todd. Sorry.
We've lost 186 points on the weekend. Our focus will be to rebound from that. Things we've spoken about today is to try and tick off on in our focus going forward. It would be a really solid foundation for this week to compete against Carlton, and the following week, and that will take care of itself. But we're in a position that this week's the most important week in the history of the footy club for a long time, and we'll worry about this week's game.
We all know how you played your footy. The bruise-free tag wouldn't have sat lightly with you, nor last week's result. Is that going to be your main area of focus, just sort of effort?
Oh, absolutely. Our intent will be on show this week. It certainly wasn't there last week. We've spoken to the players about one of the major focuses will be our defensive intent. We won't win every contested ball going, but when the opposition do, we'll be trying to get the ball back as quick as we can, and that will be done with real force.
And bruise-free?
I'm not going to buy into the comments of previous players against our club. We'll worry about our intent this week, and I guess the perception will be from the public and the media to watch and see the result on the weekend.
It's one of your big jobs here, not only as interim coach but as a former great, to unite the club again. There seems to be a lot of divisions within the place, from the administration to all the way down.
Well, certainly at this particular point, we need our strong leadership to come to the fore. The true character of the place will be in the crisis time, and that's unfortunately when you sack a coach, you're in that situation. So we need to really stick together, and we need the strong leadership people that are within this club to step forward and lead the way. It's really easy to lead in good times, but when the shit hits the fan, that's when we need our best people standing up.
Todd, when did you first sit down the players, and what was the first thing you told them?
It was really brief yesterday. I said to them yesterday, I didn't want to speak to them yesterday. There was so much going on. They were in a sort of a grieving process. Too much stuff going through their mind to start talking about football. So we asked them to do what they had to do yesterday, clear their heads, come back today. And today's their day off, but they came back in, and I addressed the players today for the first time. And by the end of it, I think we left the room in a pretty positive frame of mind, and we're looking forward to the rest of the week to try and nail all the things we need to get right to be competitive this week.
Are they in shock? Did they see the sacking coming?
Oh, look, no, and I said to them, I've got real empathy for you, because unfortunately I went through the process as a player twice, and so I understand exactly how they're feeling. They're feeling empty, they're feeling responsible, they're feeling let down. So all those things they needed to talk about amongst themselves and amongst the group. We had a really good session yesterday to put it all on the table, and hopefully that's why they're in a good position today. We need to open those communication lines up, become upfront and honest with each other, and then hopefully we can move forward. So they are in grievance. Yesterday, it's like they've lost a real mentor. Some of those players have only had Dean Bailey from a coach, and it's a serious position that I've undertaken for 5 weeks. But Bales has had some of those guys for their whole career, and has had a big impact on their lives.
Is the club divided?
No, I think we are fully committed to becoming a great club, and within that there is challenges to continually get better and we are pushing the boundaries on every front, from the front door to the back door, on how we're going to do that, because average and mediocre won't be part of it, so we've got to continue to challenge each other to become the best.
What's your relationship like with Cameron Schwab and Chris Conley?
I've known Chris and Cameron for a long time. I really respect their thoughts and opinions on football. They've done their hard yards, been away to different places, had great experiences and done good jobs, so I hold them in high regard.
Were you approached about this caretaker role, or was it something the board? Was it something you put your hand up for?
No, the first I'd been asked was Sunday night, probably 8:30, when I received a phone call from Jimmy to say that unfortunately they weren't going forward with Dean, and the board would like me to take over for the interim 5-week period. I had to think about it with my wife, spoke to my kids about all the extra attention and pressure that it might come on the family and all the ramifications to that. But in the end, I rang back Jimmy and said, I want to help out, and the reason why I'm back here is to try and help out the footy club, to make sure we're in a really good position going forward. And if it's my turn to shoulder some of the responsibility like Jimmy has, then I'm willing to take that challenge.
Gary Lyon, what about Gary? Have you spoken to him? He's been fronting the media last night and also this morning. Your thoughts on his potential role at the club?
I haven't spoken to Gary, but once again, the message that I'm saying, our best leaders of this club will need to stand up and help us get through this period of time, and also set us in the right course to be hopefully a premiership club for the 13th time.
And what about Jimmy? Clearly needs help, doesn't he? I mean, he's got his own very public battle, but he needs to do that privately at times. Does he need to take a step back, do you think, and others come in and help out?
Oh, absolutely. We're all really concerned about Jimmy, and I think it's just the ultimate respect that he's got for the club, that in this time of crisis, his own personal crisis, he's still willing to put himself on the line and be a leader for this footy club. And I think he's setting a great example for me as a former player and the whole club, that we need to follow his lead. Now, stress is the last thing he needs in his life with his illness, but he's prepared to put virtually his life on the line for the footy club, and that's what we want, and that's what we want for our players this week.
As a friend, though, would you like to see him step back for his personal health?
I want Jimmy, for whatever best is for Jimmy. Now, Jimmy is a different cat, and he's played 260 games in a row because he's got a real strong mental approach. I think this helps him in some regards, that this takes his mind off and helps drive him to do what he's got to do. So if it helps him, he'll be the best to judge that. I'm saying, Jimmy, you do the best thing for you and your family, look after yourself, but if this helps, then we want your support.
So one of the more difficult aspects in the next 5 weeks, obviously, is that of Tom Scully. Now, Phil Davis has announced that he's leaving Adelaide for GWS today. How will you handle it if he comes to you and says, I'm leaving?
Well, we'd be devastated and upset. We really see Tom as a obviously exciting talent. We think he's got fantastic leadership credentials. That's why, in this moment in time, those guys like Scully and Trengo that are great leaders, and Grimes and these guys, Green, we want our best leaders to be standing out. We think Tom's going to be that, but ultimately that's going to be his decision. We need to, and I think we're doing everything we can to try and convince him that this is the place to be, but he'll make those decisions, and ultimately if he does that, we move on, we get the best talent we can back into the place, and we build on. It's not going to be the end of the Melbourne Footy Club.
If he has made that decision, like Phil, would you like to know now?
I think I was part of the Adelaide program, so I understand that they've got a real open policy. I think Phil's out for the rest of the year. I think that certainly helps the club plan and move on. It's certainly a very difficult situation for the player to be in. So I think it helps your planning, but I respect everyone's decision to do it as they please.
Would you keep playing, if he was fit, would you keep playing Tom in the seniors if he came to you before the end of the year?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Tom's, if he's up for selection this week, we're hoping he gets through training this week and he's right, and then we'll play him, and it's going to be a huge help to how we go.
Do you think the events of the last few days will affect his decision to stay or
go? Well, he said he's going to make the decision at the end of the year. I'd say everything's going to go into the melting pot. He's a smart kid. He'll be weighing up how he sees the whole process and how we're going, and that will be a consideration, there's no doubt.
You had a lot of time at Adelaide. Did the Phil Davis thing surprise you?
I found out 2 minutes before I've come in. It didn't surprise me. Well, it surprised me that he's gone, but knowing the Adelaide culture and their upfront nature, Nathan Bock did a similar thing. as well. So that didn't surprise me, but certainly that he's decided to go has.
Just on the coaching thing, can you clarify, would you consider taking the job at the end of the season?
No,
No.
my tenure is to be the coach for the next 5 weeks, and then I'll go back into my role as Junior Manager of Player Development. And this is an opportunity for the Melbourne Footy Club to go out and find the best possible coach. And there's some excellent candidates out there that we want to pursue, and we're hell-bent on getting the absolute best here.
Does that help give you the best possible chance over the next 5 weeks to make a real on-field impact, that you can focus purely on that?
Well, I think now that unfortunately the decision has been made for Dean's point of view, the club can get on the front foot. There's already one club that's out there looking around, and so this gives us an opportunity to really start the process, plan it well, and get out there.
Do you think an experienced coach is what this club needs at this point in its history?
Well, I think if we're talking the guys like Malthouse and Clarkson, the ones that have been thrown around for a long time, they'd be excellent candidates. Experience is a really hard thing to get, but more importantly, it comes down to the leadership of that individual person, and those guys have got outstanding leadership. That's why they've been premiership coaches. But there's been plenty of guys that have been come through the ranks, like Alistair Clarkson. He was an untried coach, got a premiership in 4 years. So I think the main thing is you have the right qualities. And obviously experience is something you throw into the melting pot.
Just back on Gary for a second. What kind of role and where would his expertise be of best use to you in the football department?
Well, he's got a broad range. I mean, he's been following. He's a champion of the club, a past player. He's got a great footy brain, always has. Obviously, his media perspective. He's made a career out of the media. He knows how the communication side of the business works. But he's been around long enough. He's got a really smart footy brain to help, with the right people, the right structure, the right processes that we might need to move forward. His input would be really valuable.
Todd, you spoke about how the players were grieving after Bailey got sacked. What was your reaction? How did you take it when you heard the news?
Well, really sad for Dean and his family. It's a horrendous situation. All of a sudden, his family's life has been put into turmoil. So I found that. That was my first thought. Probably coming from the ground after that loss, something I hadn't certainly experienced. So, understanding that there was debate and consideration on that, and the talk in the media, it wasn't a total left field thing. That I knew that I'd heard there was going to be a board meeting. So, but once again, really sad that it came to that, and I was shocked really. No, I haven't been asked to be part of that committee, but I believe that the process of trying to identify what that will be is underway at the moment, but I haven't been asked.
Todd, with everything that's happened this week, the players have largely got away unscathed from the loss. So are you going to look to make some big changes this week and make a statement?
Well, certainly they haven't escaped from our point of view. I mean, the meeting we had today, we didn't shirk any responsibility of what the performance was on the weekend. So there's been no shirking from our point of view. They've been hit between the eyes, and they more than understand what happened on the weekend. So, no, they haven't shirked responsibility, and we're going to get on with, after today, of training and preparing to put our best foot forward on the weekend.
Not just so, are you going to make some changes?
Oh, there'll be certainly due consideration. There's Aaron Davey played his first game on the weekend, got through well. Tom Scully looks like, hopefully getting through training, he'd be up for selection. Clint Bartram's a real warrior and competitor. Joel McDonald played on the weekend for the first time. So there's a number of players that played on the weekend that played reasonably well that will come into consideration.
So what does Jim Stones mean to this club?
Well, I think at the moment you'd say he's the glue, and he has been. It's been fantastic. This club, in my time, I've been involved for a long time, is now at the best position it's been for a long, long time to have a real assault at becoming a great club again, a premiership club. Now we're a long way from that. But we're in the best position. We are now in this facility. We're out of the Junction Oval. We've got an elite training environment. We've got elite talent. We've got a Casey training facility, which is in top of the pile. We've got a growth corridor that we're trying to develop, and we're putting into the community there to grow that. So we're in a really good position. And Jimmy and the board, Cameron Schwab and Chris Connolly, have been helping us to get to this position. So that's why this moment in time is so important, because we have got the foundations to go forward from here. So it's really positive that we remember that we're in a good position.
How would you assess his contribution to the club?
His contribution has been enormous. I couldn't put it into words.
Not just not just the weekend's result, but the fact your average losing margin this year is 11 goals. You mentioned sort of Bartram to Warrior. Is there enough Warriors and real competitive beasts in this group?
I think there is. We just need to bring that to the fore and recognise that one of the basic fundamentals, nearly the number one of the great teams, is you have an overabundance of those type of players. That they'll win the contested ball, whether it be in the ground or in the air, and they are the type of skills we're trying to develop within our young list. Sometimes it's not natural. We have to actually teach and develop those skills, and we feel like we're addressing that, but it's going to be a real focus.
Mark Williams has been bandied about for this role. How do you think he'd fit in at the club?
I don't know Choco really well, but he's been a premiership coach, so great experience. He's from what I've heard from my Hawthorn connections that have played or coached under him and played under him, is that he's a great teacher of the game, so he'd be an excellent candidate.
Just quickly, you've touched on it already briefly, but will you change things up a lot in terms of game plan, game style? Will we see a different Melbourne on Saturday?
I think you've got to be realistic in what you can change in 5 weeks. We can't reinvent the wheel. We believe we've started to address a lot of the things and try to put into place this year. Some of those things haven't gone very well. Defensively, we want to get better. We can't keep losing by 10 goals on average. So we believe offensively, when we go all right, we go really well. We can score. Contested ball, we need to keep fine-tuning that. But the defensive intent, when the opposition get the ball, we want to get it back straight away.
The last two clubs you've been involved with have had change of coaches in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, Neil Craig last week. Were you surprised at what happened in Adelaide, and have you spoken to Neil at all?
No, I haven't spoken to Neil. I've spoken to Mark Bickley, who's has obviously taken over. So I thought I'd give Neil some time to sort of grieve and get away from the place. But it's just the pressure of this game. This is a tough environment. I think we all understand when we get into it that there's going to be tough times and more kicks in the pants than pats on the back. Neil Danaher said that, and he also said there's not many fairy tales in football. So it's a really tough environment, and performances ultimately on the scoreboard dictate how long you stay in the game. Neil was a great coach. I've been really lucky to work under some great coaches with Alistair Clarkson and Neil Craig, Neil Danaher. So I've really respect those guys. I've been doing it for a long time, particularly Craigie, and learned a lot from him, and even Bales. Coming to Melbourne under Bales, certainly learned a lot from him. So the coaches, you've got to respect them for putting their lives on the line and their families' lives to do a job to help a particular club.
Will you compare notes with Bix at all?
Yeah, he's already sent me a text and said if you need any advice on being the caretaker coach, just ring me, because obviously they had a win on the weekend.
And will you coach from the box or the sidelines?
No, I'd like to be up in the box. I think I prefer to have a full picture of the ground, so I think you can do that best up there.